Hello and welcome to the TTG Florida Fest Florida Refresher Masterclass. A bit of a mouthful. Jill Sandevan, Senior Account Director for Visit Florida, is with me today. So thank you, Jill.
No problem, Maddie. It's my pleasure.
So during this Florida Refresher Masterclass, we're going to cover a brief overview of what the state has to offer visitors, and then we're going to take a deep dive into the destinations, state parks, and all the adventures that your clients can have within them. As this masterclass is designed for agents who are new to selling Florida or are keen for a destination refresher, as it says in the title, let's start off with an overview. Jill, can you give us an overview of the kinds of activities that are available to visitors to Florida, as well as what type of client is going to enjoy them the most?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, everybody really, to be honest. I mean, there is so much, so much. I would say a first timer who hasn't sold Florida before is don't be overwhelmed, but also to don't assume that Florida is just for families and theme park junkies. There really is something for everyone in Florida. And it's that variety and diversity that really makes Florida special. When you go on holiday with a big family, there's always one person, I would say, that doesn't quite get the holiday they want. You know, it's the beach lover or it's the person that likes the culture. But actually in Florida, we have all of that. So everybody gets to enjoy something. So, I mean, like I say, one day you could be riding coasters. The next day you could be chilling on a powder white sand beach, watching dolphins come and swim up in the ocean. The next day you can be in a really cool downtown area surrounded by amazing street art, sipping a craft beer. And then the next day you can be in one of our award-winning art galleries or museums as well. So there really is something for everybody. And then on top of that as well, for anybody that likes an active holiday, our state parks, our natural spring waters and our nature trails, there's something there for everybody there as well. Our wide open spaces are just fantastic for nature lovers. We have heavily protected ecosystems and nature refuges as well. So you can see animals in their, you know, their natural habitat as well. So yes, something for everyone there, and a lot to get your teeth into.
Yeah, and having spent quite a lot of time in Florida over the past couple of years, I can definitely back you up on that, Jill.
Thank you.
I also know that food is always a massive part of a holiday, anywhere in the US, but particularly in Florida. Can you tell us a little bit about Florida's culinary scene and what visitors can expect to eat and drink when they visit?
Absolutely. Well, Florida food is delicious, let me tell you. And it's a massive misconception that it's just burgers and chain restaurants and things like that. In fact, Florida's second biggest economy after tourism is agriculture. So there's a real farm to fork culture, and there's chefs that are really, really passionate about the provenance of their ingredients. And what's really cool about Florida is the size of it, is that the cuisine changes depending on where you are in the state. So up in the north, you'll get this real southern influence. So this real sort of comfort food, grits and shrimp, which is a little bit like the New Orleans gumbo type food, the food grandma makes. Well, it's not our grandmas, but American grandmas, yeah. Apparently. And then further down in the south, you get the Caribbean influences coming in and the Cuban influences, so the spices and that kind of thing. And with our 825 miles of beaches, or should I say 1,250 miles of coastline, you're going to get fantastic seafood wherever you go. I always eat seafood when I'm there. The freshest seafood you can get, the biggest stone crabs you've ever seen in your life. And something really cool, which I don't think you get anywhere else, is you can go out fishing and then you can bring your catch back to any restaurant. Well, I say any restaurant, but a lot of restaurants, and they do what's called catch and cook. So you can take your fish into the restaurant, they'll gut it and prepare it for you and then bring it back out with the sides of your choice. So something really cool as well to do.
Absolutely. So for anyone watching, you can hear more about that in our Flavors of Florida masterclass later on in Florida Fest. Now, I know there is a common misconception that all there is in Florida is attraction parks, as you've said, Jill. It's a common misconception, and there's plenty more to discover. In terms of culture, can you tell us a little bit about the cultural attractions in Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have those in spades as well. We have over 500 museums and galleries, 50 national landmarks, 30 historic lighthouses. Who knew? I suppose it's all that coastline and beaches that we have. A couple of my absolute favourites is up in Pensacola on the northwest coast is the National Aviation Museum. If you've got anybody that's into aviation, this is a really interactive museum with lots of history, lots of aircraft from, I don't know, the First World War right up until present day. And it's actually really cool. It's home of the Blue Angels. Now, the Blue Angels are the US's equivalent to the Red Arrows. And every Wednesday morning they practice. So you can be sitting on the beach in Pensacola and you'll get this very sort of Top Gun style air show. So that's my little top tip for a freebie up there in Pensacola. And probably another of my favorite museums is the Ringling Museum down in Sarasota. Sarasota is really our cultural capital, and the Ringling Museum is it was the original home of the Ringling family, who were a traveling circus family, think Greatest Showman, that sort of thing. And they have this really cool circus museum down there, so you can enroll in clown school, you can learn how to fly the trapeze. So they also have a massive art collection there as well, lots of Rubens and other artists whose names I can never remember, but really impressive art collection down there as well. So what we like to do in Florida is have these interactive experiences with some very valuable culture and really intellectual pieces as well.
Fantastic. Now, you also mentioned there's lots of outdoor adventure, especially in the state parks. Now, we do have a 15-minute video to showcase you shortly on those state parks. Jill, are you able to pick out some of the key selling points for these parks, as well as highlights what our viewers can expect from the video to come?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, what we're saying about, Florida is known for our theme parks. And don't get me wrong, our theme parks are amazing and world class. They're our jewel in the crown. But our natural parks are also probably lesser known. And in fact, but we have them, we have them in abundance. We have 175 state parks. Wait for this. Now I'm going to roll off a lot of numbers. Okay. 175 state parks. We have 700 natural springs, 9 state trails, 3 national parks, 2 national seashores, and a national preserve as well. And with all of that, it's so easy to be like, well, where do I start, really? And one of the things I'd probably like to explain is the difference between a state park and a national park, because people think, oh, well, the national parks are obviously the best, the biggest, the best, and it's not like that at all. The difference between a state park and a national park is just really where the funding comes from. So I would encourage, so the state parks are funded by our state and the national parks are funded by Washington, but it doesn't mean that any are inferior to the others. So I would encourage clients to get out there, experience our walking trails, our biking trails, our kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, which I was in Florida last week and I did that for the first time. It was absolutely amazing. Tubing down our natural springs as well. I've had friends and family whose kids were desperate to go and see their favorite Disney character, but actually when they come back, they say the highlight of their whole holiday was seeing a manatee from a kayak in Crystal River or seeing alligators in the Everglades. So don't be afraid to put some of those experiences in as well whilst you're holidaying in Florida.
Fantastic. Let's take a closer look at some of those parks now in destination footage.
Hello and welcome on behalf of the Florida Park Service. I'm Robert Yarrow and I'm standing here at beautiful Wekiwa Springs State Park, a natural wonder just 30 minutes from downtown Orlando. Now, when most people think of Florida, they picture our amazing beaches, but our parks in Florida have so much more to offer. Like these amazing pines behind me and the rolling sandhills. This park is so important because it offers visitors an opportunity to connect with nature and protect these critical habitats for rare species like black bear, fox squirrels, gopher tortoises, and so much more. Did you know that Florida is home to 175 award-winning state parks, trails, and historic sites, 3 national parks, 2 national seashores, a national preserve, and over 700 natural springs? Well, with this abundance of options, the hardest thing to do is to decide which park to visit first. Well, Florida State Parks is the best place to start if you like hiking, biking, paddling, or camping. Our state parks are award-winning because where else can you ride a horse on a beach, climb a historic lighthouse, swim in a crystal clear spring, or take a guided swamp walk? We think that every park tells a story. We offer unique experiences to rejuvenate, restore, relax, or learn. We want to connect everyone to the real Florida. And for that reason, we're happy to partner with Visit Florida and offer you a small glimpse into the amazing experiences you can have in parks in Florida. So let's head to Northwest Florida for our first experience.
Hi, my name is Allison Wicke. I'm a local artist, and we are in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, in the beautiful village of Grayton Beach. Grayton Beach, as far as I know, is one of the oldest established parts of the 30A corridor. It was the first place to actually have electricity. It is the most famous and most beloved part of 30A for sure. So our beaches here are barren sand flats, and it goes out forever, the Gulf of Mexico. There's really nothing here. I've never seen a rock in our water. So SWARA, the South Walton Artificial Reef Association, started putting artificial reefs under to help give a habitat to our marine life. As soon as the one off Grayton Beach was deployed, I was out there within a week. I could not wait. I swam out there and I was just like, this is amazing. I was like, why aren't we doing sculptures out there? So I presented the idea to the board of the Cultural Arts Alliance. I saw faces light up in the meeting, and the rest is literally history.
Grayton Beach is a special spot right here along the Emerald Coast, and it's known as the Emerald Coast because of our emerald green water. We're about 2 minutes away from the beach where we launch. It just gives us almost instant access.
So nice.
Wow, we are a lot closer than I thought. So right here is Grayton Beach State Park, and right below us is the Underwater Museum of Art.
After 3 different annual deployments, there are now 25 total sculptures down there. Once we described it to people and once we actually got some sculptures down there, this thing has absolutely blown up. It's a fantastic dive. The fish and all the marine life that we see down there are really, really impressive, and it literally keeps growing every year.
So if you are coming to the 30A area and you really want to see the Turtle Reef or go out to the Underwater Museum of Art, get in touch with your local dive shop around here, and you can schedule yourself a scuba trip to go out to the sculpture reef.
Next, we head a little east to check out a park experience you might be surprised to find in Florida.
This is a very active, growing cave, and as visitors walk through the caverns, they will hear drips of water falling off the tips of the stalactites, reminding them this is an ever-growing, ever-changing environment. Hi, I'm Billy Bailey, Park Manager here at the Florida Cavern State Park. The Florida Cavern State Park is located an hour west of Tallahassee, Florida, in the town of Marianna, just north of Interstate 10. Some of the really unique features here of the park is, of course, the history. This is one of the 8 CCC era parks. The CCC, or Civilian Conservation Corps, was part of President Roosevelt's Depression Recovery Program. It lasted from 1933 until 1942, and it helped to bring the United States out of the Great Depression through conservation work, like planting trees and developing parks like this. Visitors touring the cave here at the Florida Cavern State Park will be surprised at how close they can actually get to the formations here, which means as visitors walk through, they will hear drips of water falling off the tips of the stalactites, and every time they hear that drip of water, they knew that the cave grew just a little bit as minerals are deposited on the tips of the stalactites and on the tops of the stalagmites. Very few areas in Florida have a high enough elevation to actually have a dry or air-filled cave. And although there are many dry caves in this region, this remains the only developed tour cave open to the public in the state of Florida. The tour cave consists of about a dozen rooms. The historic, well-known rooms of the cavern are the wedding room, the cathedral room, and the catacombs. Many of these names carry from the late 1930s and early 40s, although many of these rooms have numerous names, and of course our visitors are sure to use their imagination and to help us in that process. Every tour guide at the Florida Cavern State Park is trained to the highest level of interpretive standards to ensure the visitors that come through the cave learn as much as possible of the natural and cultural history here at the Florida Cavern State Park, and we ensure they'll have a fun and enjoyable as well as an educational experience every time they tour the caverns. I've been through the cave thousands of times, and every time I come in I see something a little bit different and unusual that I've never seen before. And also, your imagination and your questions will determine what type of tour you receive. Thank you for visiting us here at the Florida Cavern State Park. And as you plan your visit, make sure to include our award-winning parks here and see the real Florida as you've seen it today underground.
Wow, those caves were amazing. Let's head to Central Florida. Our springs are as beloved as our beaches, and when you see a natural spring, you'll understand why.
Welcome to Rainbow Springs State Park, the site of the 4th largest spring in the state of Florida. We are in Denellen, Florida. We're located just west of Ocala. My name is Thea Knott, Park Services Specialist. This area was attractive to our earliest settlers, the Native Americans, who came to live here 12,000 years ago. The views are what I call heaven on earth. The park is the site of a first magnitude spring and averages approximately 500 million gallons of crystal clear, bone-chilling 72-degree water every day. Everyone needs a place to go swimming in Florida, and this is even better than most because of the fabulous water clarity. It's some of the cleanest, purest water you may ever see in your life. And trust me when I tell you, it is refreshing. We also have an outfitter that supplies rentals of canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, and runs our tubing operation. When you're on the water in a vessel, you're going to see the river grasses. If you're lucky, you might see some otters playing. Lots of birds. The state park property used to be the site of a former roadside attraction. Through the attraction, you're going to see 3 waterfalls. You're going to go through the remnants of the zoo and also see the rodeo area where they once performed rodeo shows. Because we're a very popular destination, we fill up fast, especially on the weekends and the holidays. When our parking lots are full and we're at capacity, unfortunately, the front gates will close and there will be no further admission the rest of the day. So the early bird gets the worm. We open at 8 o'clock and we hope you get here very early in order to enter the park. We have wonderful natural and cultural resources everywhere, and it's just spectacular to come and visit, bring the families and the picnics, and spend a wonderful day at the park. Thank you for visiting Rainbow Springs State Park. We hope you'll come out and visit all Florida state parks where you can experience the real Florida.
From the crystal clear waters of the spring to a slow-moving river of grass, let's travel south and visit the largest wetlands in the world.
Welcome! I am Yvette Cano, and I am the Director of Education for Everglades National Park. There are airboating opportunities right along the boundaries of Everglades National Park. This fast-paced experience is an exciting way to see the ecosystems. Everglades National Park is the largest subtropical wilderness in the United States, and it's home to many rare and endangered species. There are several locations where you can canoe or kayak, a unique way to observe the beauty of the Everglades up close. Another one of the locations to explore within Everglades National Park is Shark Valley. Shark Valley is a wonderful spot to come and experience the Everglades from a bit of a more comfortable perspective, there is a paved 15-mile loop if you decide to bring your bicycle. But if you don't have a bicycle with you, no worries, you can definitely rent one. There are tons of trails that you can explore. While some are paved, there are also many that are off the beaten path. All you need is a sense of adventure. Probably one of the best places to experience wildlife at Everglades National Park. You can see it all over the place. Even just walking the first mile, there is just an incredible array of wildlife to experience here. Because it's close enough to the city, it really offers a great opportunity for people to connect to nature. This is that perfect mesh of all things combined. Thank you for visiting Miami. I invite you to visit Florida and see it in a new way.
Last and certainly not least, let's visit one of our crown jewels. And this one you can't drive to.
I am Ranger Curtis. I'm the lead here for visitor programs to include education and volunteers. And we are in Dry Tortugas National Park right now atop of Fort Jefferson. Well, this place was founded back in 1513 by Ponce de Leon, and it was named Las Tortugas. So you're going to be able to get that feeling of what it felt like to be in a 19th century fort, what it looked like back then. There's over 2,000 arches here. You're going to see a moat that goes all the way around the fort. It's about 70 foot wide. This place is very unique and very special to many different people. So we have all kinds of amazing birds on Hospital Key just to my right. We have one of the only colonies of mass booby birds, but it's really that mix and that blend. So we're standing on top of a 19th century fort, the most ambitious fort that was ever designed by the US. So they came out with this 3-tier fort system that could basically have cannons on each level. This fort could hold over 420 cannons, 100 of which could fire at a single target at one time. I really enjoy going up on the second tier. There you're gonna see areas that used to be prisons. You're gonna go up that spiral staircase, then you get to the top and you're gonna be able to see a vista such as behind me with Garden Key. 99% of the park is a marine park. So when you go under the water, we have certain corals functionally been labeled as extinct, yet we have 3 to 5 colonies of it that are thriving out in the Dry Tortugas. So it's really a unique nexus of ocean currents and cultural history. Loggerhead Key has many stories. It has our highest density of turtle nesting. If we go back to the early 1900s, the Carnegie Institute was started there, which was one of the first tropical marine labs. It's also where the first underwater photograph was taken. So there's all kinds of really great scientific research. So we have 2 authorized concessions. We have the Yankee Freedom. We also have Key West Seaplane Adventures. Those are the most popular. You can also apply and come out on a seaplane with a special permit. You know what I would say is that if you want to come and you want to check it off, it's a bucket list item, absolutely. You can come out on the seaplane, you can come out on the Yankee Freedom. If you really want to get a feel for the Dry Tortugas, then come and spend the night with us. And as soon as everyone else leaves, you are out on a remote island by yourself. It's really amazing to work someplace and still get a sense of wow.
If wide open spaces is what you're craving, or you're just a lover of the great outdoors, our award-winning parks have something to offer for everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope to see you soon exploring one of our wonderful parks. For more information, visit floridastateparks.org or visitflorida.com.
Amazing. So Jill, just a couple more questions before we move on to the Q&A, live Q&A. Do you have any tips to help agents secure Florida bookings, whether it's for a first timer or a repeat booker?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I think I've probably repeated myself a few times now, you know, don't pack too much in. Our research shows us that a first timer to Florida if they stay 1 or 2 nights outside of the theme park areas, they're about 5 times more likely to repeat book, because they realize that there's so much more to see and do. So our advice really is to try and encourage them to do a twin center at the very minimum, a multi-center. But as I say, don't pack too much in. Try and tell, it's so easy for people to say, I want to do all the theme parks. I want to do, I want to get passes for everything. But actually that becomes, it becomes very expensive, and it also becomes very exhausting as well. So I would try and get your clients to say, pick your favorite park, or pick the one that you really, really want to go to, and then give them a few days outside of that where they can go and experience these other amazing things that we've got to offer as well.
Amazing. Okay. And how can agents learn more about Florida outside of TTG Florida Fest? Is there a training program?
There is, yes. Our Visit Florida Travel Pro. So that's we'll put the web address into the link. It'll also be on in our hub outside of this what am I trying to say, Maddie?
Virtual lobby.
That's the one, yes. In the virtual lobby, we'll have all of the information in there. But the Visit Florida Travel Pro, it's a really, really good source of information. And it's not just your run-of-the-mill online training where you read a bit and you answer a couple of questions and move on. There's videos in there, there's blogs, there's audio. So it's for anybody who, has different ways of learning. There's 4 chapters in there, 4 basic chapters. They take about 15 minutes. You can dip in and dip out. And then we have specialization modules as well for those who want to really, really get under the skin of Florida. As well as that, sorry, I will stop going on in a minute. You can also visit our website, visitflorida.com. Lots and lots of information on there, and also be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well, where we've got some amazing content on lots and lots of different subjects.
Amazing. Thank you, Jill. And viewers, if you have any questions for Jill about selling holidays to Florida or about the state park adventures that we've seen today, again, please do type them in the chat box as we will move into the live Q&A. So thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Hello. How are we doing?
Good, Maddie. How are you?
Good, thank you. Viewers, if you do have any questions for Jill on the topic of Florida generally, please do put them in the chat box. As this is a refresher session, I thought, Jill, I would just ask about Florida tourism developments that are coming up that agents might like to have on their radar. So it could be any notable new hotels, attractions, events, flights, or any new infrastructure, kind of any news generally about the destination.
There's lots and lots. So I've written a list, but I'll try and make it as interesting as I can. But I think Dana mentioned earlier on today about the Bright Line. That's probably one of the most exciting things, or one of the things we're most excited about. So that's a high-speed train that goes, at the moment, it goes from Miami to Fort Lauderdale and the Palm Beaches, but in the summer it will link up to Orlando, and there's actually going to be a terminal at Orlando Airport. The terminal's already built, the track's already built as well. So if you're wondering why we can't give you another date, whether it isn't, it's on this date, it's because the train goes through various different counties, and all of those counties have got to match up and sign off forms and things. But it's happening. We just need to get the bureaucracy done. So we're thinking it's probably going to be midsummer, somewhere like that. So that's really exciting. And then, as Dana mentioned, it will link over to Tampa as well. So I just think that's going to be a game changer for people that want to travel around the state. And as you know, I'm very passionate about getting people traveling around the state, Maddie. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I think it'll be 3 hours from Orlando to Miami. So a real game changer. So that's the Bright Line. We talked about the Tampa route. Obviously, that started last year. And I think you reported actually last week that Norse Airlines are also going to be flying into Gatwick and Fort Lauderdale from May as well. So that's another airline there for us, some more capacity. That's very exciting as well. In terms of hotels, we have a new Mandarin Oriental hotel opening in the Boca Raton area, so some more luxury beds there. And there's also a new resort called the Amrit Ocean Resort and Residences, which is on Singer Island, which is also in the West Palm Beach area. And that's a hotel that's completely dedicated to wellness. And that's coming on board in the summer this year as well. So that'll be a really new product for us to promote as well. In terms of destinations, the Riverfront Esplanade in Daytona opens after a £30 million refurbishment. And in New Smyrna Beach, at the end of this year, they're opening a new surf simulator centre, which is going to combine both the natural beauty of the place with new surf technology. So as well, you might know, but that side, the east, is very, very good for surfing. So that'll be really cool as well. Lots of new rides in the parks, but I could go on forever, and you probably don't want me to, so I'll stop.
Fantastic. Some fab updates there. We've had a few great questions come in from the audience. Kerry is asking about itineraries for honeymooners. Is there anywhere that you have access to pre-made itineraries, or can you make some recommendations for honeymooners?
That's a very good point. I do think I think we do. There is a romance section of our website, but I'll have to check. What I'll do, Kerry, if you want to pop your email address in the chat box, or if you want to email me directly, and that would be jill@goshpr.co.uk. I'll find you the content. It's sometimes we've got loads of content. It's just that sometimes I don't know exactly where it is. But please let me know, and I'll send you some stuff. No problem.
Amazing, thank you. And Laura is asking about itineraries also, but for the state parks. Do you have access to those on your website anywhere particular?
We have a state park section on the website, and that will list all of those. There's also, if you look at Florida state parks as well, if you Google that, there's a whole website run not by Visit Florida, but by the State Parks Association. Lots and lots of information on there as well. I also have some state park maps. So again, if you want to email me, we can get those sent out as well to you. That's no problem at all.
Fantastic. And Kathleen, thanks for your comments on Fort Myers as well. I'm glad you found that insightful. And I'm looking forward to Brightline, of course. Jill, Kathleen says she's just waiting for the schedules and fares for that.
I know, aren't we all? Aren't we all? But I would say as well, I did have I had a meeting with Brightline a couple of weeks ago, and they are also just to give you guys some peace of mind, they also are very aware that agents are going to be key to helping them. So I know that they're already looking at ways of how the trade can book Brightline as well. So that's really exciting news as well, that they're on board with that already. So as soon as we know, you'll know, I promise you.
I actually was lucky enough to ride the Brightline when I was in Florida myself. It was a fantastic experience, very luxury, very smooth. So I can definitely recommend that from TTG's perspective as well.
Fantastic.
In terms of other questions that I thought might be good to run through, I was wondering if you might be able to give an overview of what a first-timer's itinerary to Florida might look like, in case we've got anyone new to selling Florida in the audience today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I mean, with everything that we've got, every itinerary could be different. I mean, I guess if you've never been to Florida before, you're not going to not go and see Mickey Mouse, which is absolutely wonderful, and you should do that as well. But the parks have so much. So I would suggest if somebody comes and asks you and says, I want to go to Florida, what are the key things? I would start by actually turning that around and asking the client what their kids or what their party is really into, because there's different things at different parks. So I would start with that. If somebody really wants to see the Disney princesses, then it's Magic Kingdom. If somebody's really into Harry Potter, then obviously it's Universal. But as I keep saying, and I do feel like a broken record, do the parks, do one or two parks really, really well, but get outside and see some of those, those amazing state parks that we've just shown you, and some of those really lovely natural experiences as well. But I do get that when you come into Florida, you're going to want to come. You're going to want to come and see some of our award-winning theme parks. I mean, 7 of the top 20 theme parks are in the world are in Orlando. So there's so much there to keep you occupied, and hopefully to keep you coming back as well. In terms of couples, first time to Florida, then I would say maybe start with the cities. Actually, maybe use that flight to Tampa. And go into the city first and spend some time in the city, and then go over to Orlando and do the parks for a couple of days, or Miami. I mean, Miami's a fantastic city as well. So yeah, lots and lots to see and do.
Yeah,
I could talk about it forever in case you hadn't noticed.
No, it's great info. It's fantastic. Kathleen is inquiring as to see if you might have any insight if Brightline will do agent rates.
I think they will. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they will do. They'd be silly not to, really. Yeah.
Great. And we've got a specific question here from another Jill. So Jill to Jill. What would you recommend?
Hi, Jill.
What would you recommend for families who only want to do 2 days in Disney, as UK tickets are normally 7 days and more, and have any plans to seek tickets to the UK? So I think she's asking about the different ticket brackets there for the parks for Disney.
So if you're going to, sorry, I didn't see the question, but if somebody only wants to go for 2 days and they're going to buy on the gate sort of thing.
Yeah.
Again, I would say look at what each park has. So you've got, now you're going to test me. We've got Magic Kingdom, which has, the castle and all of the princesses and that kind of thing. Epcot is probably got a few more simulator rides. Animal Kingdom, that's probably my favourite, if I'm honest. And then the Disney's film studios as well. So I would have a look at those. I think later on in the afternoon you can park hop, but in the daytime, choose the park where you think you're going to get the most of it in the daytime, and then the secondary one in the afternoon. Does that help at all?
Yes, I believe it does. Yeah. And actually, the second part of that question was: are there any more plans to introduce day tickets for the UK?
Now that's something you'd have to ask Disney about. Really, okay. I can't comment on that one, I'm afraid.
No problem at all. Great. Okay, we've got a few more minutes. So I wondered also if we could maybe touch on the luxury market, because we might have some agents in the audience who are luxury travel agents. Which destinations would you recommend they suggest to their clients if they're new to selling Florida?
Well, there's pocket again. I'm going to say the same thing. There's pockets of luxury everywhere around Florida, and all of the tourist destinations. Orlando, you're going to get those 5-star resorts. There's the Four Seasons in Orlando. All of the main tourist areas have those 5-star resorts, but it really depends what luxury means to a customer as well, because there's, there's places where there's tiny, tiny boutique hotels as well. I mean, you're going to hear from Tampa and Florida Keys tomorrow in the masterclasses, so I won't talk about those, but a really lovely place that I really like is up on the Panhandle, the 30A, which we did just touch on in the film before, Grayton Beach area, but there's some really beautiful beach communities up there. There's one called Rosemary Beach and Alice Beach. It's a bit like the Hamptons up there. It's really, really exclusive, and these gorgeous little B&B places, which are really, really beautiful and completely special. Where else can I think about? Where else can I say? I mean, somewhere like Sarasota, Naples. Sarasota is, I said it before, the cultural capital of Florida. So that downtown area has some beautiful art scene, theatre. It's where the ballet is. It's where the Philharmonic Orchestra is as well. So there really is, where anybody wants to travel, you'll get 5-star luxury. And then, of course, the parks do your sort of special, you can do the the queue jumping, the private tours where you can go behind the scenes, all of that sort of thing. So if that's the sort of thing you want to do as well. And then, of course, we've got our private homes, which are amazing as well. We can have private chefs in them. I think you got to experience one of our private homes last year.
Fantastic. Bears Den, Orlando it was.
That's right, yeah. So it really depends what somebody wants out of their luxury holiday as well. But we have lots of it. We can cater for anybody and any budget.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jill. We're just about out of time, so we'll wrap up there.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in to the first day of TTG Florida Fest. If you haven't already, don't forget to answer the quiz questions in the polls tab to get your entries in for the competition to win a holiday for two to Florida. We will see you tomorrow back here at 2 o'clock for an afternoon of masterclasses. They're spanning accessible holidays, selling to the LGBT plus community and the luxury market, plus another first-hand report from my visit to Florida last month, which is a masterclass on gastronomic experiences and manatee adventures in Crystal River. So have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow. You can use the same link that you used today to access. So we'll see you then.